Welcome to a podcast of total terror. Night of the Nerdy Laser. A podcast which celebrates films of horror. Night of the Nerdy Laser. A night with a podcast that won't stay dead. A podcast of total horror. Night of the Nerdy Laser.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Night of the Nerdy Laser podcast. We are rounding out the Halloween trilogy. The last three films, we're talking Halloween 2018, Kills, and Ends. Does it end? I don't know. But we're going to find out because, listen, we've talked about all the other Halloween movies, and now it's time to finally put this old-ass piece of shit to bed. I am Matthew Henry.
I am Richard. I'm kind of over Halloween. Yule?
And I'm just partially in the movie, Jeff Lown.
So my question is, Richard, are you over the movie or the season or both?
Kind of both.
Okay.
I don't know why this year, but yeah, just kind of both. You know, we're into November now. Hell, it's halfway over at this point, and yeah, I just like Christmas. So
well, if you're kind of feeling the not withdrawals, but the overdraw of Halloween, then just watch Halloween Ends because it's not really a Halloween movie. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
We will get there.
That's true.
I think Richard is ready to move on to the Hallmark Christmas movies, and don't let him tell you any different.
They're fired up. They are running wild in the household of the Yules.
Shove a Christmas tree up my ass.
Right up there.
Yeah, starring Emilio Estevez and then Shannon Elizabeth Hurley.
I would watch something with Emilio Estevez. Last year,
if it was called "Shove a Christmas Tree Up My,"
sure.
Why not?
Why not? I watched.
Where'd you put that candy cane? The sequel.
I watched two Hallmark movies last year by choice. The Christmas movies. I was very strategic, and I picked two, and they were actually really good. And then I was done.
Okay, good. Well, no, I mean that's about So
some of them, they're not all bad.
Listen, if they don't,
but they make 70 of them for the season. So, I mean, there's only about 5 good ones.
Yeah, all right. As long as everybody ends up happy in the end, just like the real world.
Yeah, just like it.
Right? Yeah.
Not
Listen, it's escapism.
With a plumbing issue of $7,500.
Listen. It's escapism, but there's one thing you're not going to escape from, and it's a 60-year-old man who's been chained to a checkerboard floor for most of his life. and that's old Michael Myers. So 2018, we jump back into the Halloween franchise. David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. The rumors had been swirling for like a year and a half on what this thing was going to be. And what we got was some weird amalgamation of homages while simultaneously trying to be different and what kind of felt like fanfare. Am I wrong or am I right?
It's accurate.
That's accurate.
Right,
okay.
You're right, because that's why people liked it, because it was the fanfare kind of thing, you know?
But not everyone liked it.
I didn't, but the majority of people liked the first one.
Okay,
the majority of people did. But I have a question. Why the hell wasn't this movie called Halloween Lives?
Maybe in hindsight they would have done that. But I mean, okay,
but
so
instead we have 3 Halloweens. We have one from 78. We have one from 2008. Then we have one from 2018.
Yeah, it's weird.
Stupid.
It's weird. That's a box set. That's a box set I want. Okay, so okay, Jamie Lee Curtis returns after saying she would never do this again. Okay. She says she's intrigued by the script, but what we get is a very similar character to what we got in H2O. Really, if you really want to boil it down,
not as good of a character.
No, I don't think so either.
I think H2O is way better.
Well, it was more fleshed out, and I'll tell you why. All that stuff with her being an alcoholic was her idea because she was an alcoholic at the time. So it felt real because it's what was really going on. But this movie focuses a little bit more on the trauma of it, of the PTSD of the situation. But what we do get is probably, in my opinion, the best portrayal of Michael Myers since Part 2, right? I think that... what's the new dude's name?
Michael Myers.
James Jude
Courtney.
I think really portrays a very solid Michael Myers. This movie and then Kills, which we'll get to in a minute, are obviously his strong suit. Like that's where he looks the best, and as the character is just a complete badass. But aesthetically, this movie looks great. I mean, this movie looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, and real quick. I mean, for the people that are fans of the Halloween franchise, you know, we talked about it last episode when we covered the rest of them. How I said it was kind of like a choose your own storyline. This one, kind of, well, we go from Halloween '78 to this one. It skips over everything in between, just to kind of clear that up for people that
they're not brother sister. Yes.
Right. Yeah. It was the babysitter murders or whatever they kind of referred to it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Which is actually loosely.
I'm not kidding. I did not know that. I thought it was after Halloween 2.
No, it's a direct sequel of the original.
This makes me hate it even more.
Really?
This is blowing my mind. They never mention being brother and sister at all, Richard.
They barely do it in the second one, so I've just figured it wasn't that big of a deal.
Oh man, that kind of blows my mind a little bit. Okay, so to be fair, there is a scene in the 2018 movie where he's like, aren't they brother and sister? And then she's like, that's just some made up thing people made up to make themselves feel better about the situation or whatever. But they do reference it. It was never.
They're podcasters, and they made the podcasters out to be idiots anyway, which made me mad.
Well, that's accurate.
Shut up.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it was never meant to be John Carpenter. John Carpenter never wanted them to be brother and sister. He never thought that way. He wanted Michael Myers to be like Jaws, an unstoppable, unkillable force that has you can't reason with it. He's like a land shark. New movie idea. Land shark.
House shark. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say house shark. That's
house shark. Okay. So, but. What I do like about this movie is I do like that every single significant scene in this movie is just an homage to one of the sequels. And it kind of makes it a little frustrating because they ignore all the sequels. So if you're going to ignore all the sequels, why are you going to reference all the sequels?
Well, they even reference Rob Zombie. I mean, you have the podcasters get killed in the truck stop. You know, just like Ken Foray and in Rob Zombie's Halloween. I thought it felt very much like that.
Yes, it does. And then we also have the homage to Halloween 2, right? Where he just walks into the house and beats the woman to death with the hammer and walks out. The
sandwich lady.
Yeah, the sandwich lady. It's almost identical to the second movie. I mean, it's just they homage the first movie with the breakout and we see all the inmates walking around. That's fine. I'm okay with homaging the first movie. It just feels a little weird to homage all these sequels, but not be canon, you know? And I'm fine with them not being canon because listen, this whole franchise is so inconsistent that it doesn't, one cannot comprehend how inconsistent this franchise is. Well, what we do get is we get John Carpenter and Cody Carpenter coming in to the fray to create easily the greatest soundtrack in 10 years for a horror film, because the Halloween 2018 soundtrack is gold, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
to
like
hear
I like
color. Keep talking.
I like this. I like the second the Kills soundtrack too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have as many strong. I mean, the 2018 Halloween has at least 6 really strong tracks. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends each have like 2 or 3. I think, and I actually really dig Halloween Ends as the last 2 tracks in that one, the Perdition or whatever, where they're hauling him off. But
yeah.
and then the Junkyard thing. Yeah, see, it's so
Ooh.
good.
I can't
The
find
Mask.
the other one.
The Mask is fucking awesome in this movie.
Yeah, I love The Mask. I feel is the best part of these movies. I like all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. The death scenes are solid. They're just gory enough in this movie where they feel elevated from the original film, but not quite as gory as the Rob Zombie movies. We'll get to that in the next film, obviously. But in this movie, I feel like the kills are solid. I feel like they're effective.
Yeah.
I have a few issues. There is a character in this movie, and Jeff, I'll let you kind of elaborate on it because I want to hear your opinion. Then I want to hear Richard's too, real quick, before we jump to the next movie. Is Dr. Sartain?
Oh, yeah. So I did like that because they use Loomis's audio talking at some point in this one, right? Or did they do that? They do that
at the beginning, but right? I think it's not him. I think they got like a voice actor,
right? Because then in Kills, they use the guy they put in makeup to look.
Now that looks great.
God,
we'll talk about that. But yeah, this I don't. So for me, I do like this movie. I do like it. I mean, it has its flaws for sure. And I remember one of the main things people were saying when it came out was like, "Oh, that's not how Michael is. Michael was never really that violent." I just rewatched all the films, this October. Richard, you did too. You watched them back to back without sleeping or something like that. So
yeah,
I don't know, but
not a good idea.
Michael does a lot of really goofy things in all the older films because they were goofy films. But he also does kill a lot of people in those films. Like people might not, think, oh, he killed 5 or 6 people, but that's a lot of people compared to 0 people. You know what I mean? So he does kill them. And in this one, he does it too. And the kills, like you guys are saying, are kind of violent and ferocious at times. Like the kid that was in love with the granddaughter, but wasn't the boyfriend that gets killed in the yard. That's pretty violent. And then Michael strings him up on the fence. The lady in the house, was it the couple? That's
the second movie. That's the second
okay. Well, the mechanic, the guy who got his jaw
mouth.
Yeah. I was like, oh wow, that's just like The Ring, the face. But yeah. So I mean, the kills are there for sure.
And he kills the little kid who just wants to dance.
Yeah.
Which was that is my origin story, okay? All I ever wanted to do was dance.
So I like this one, and I like the fact that he kills kids and they don't look 30, and I mean there's really good things about
the podcaster and the teeth over the stall. That's one of my favorites. He just drops all those teeth and they just.
I like him. I like him using the podcaster's face to open the door.
That felt like a Rob Zombie move. The teeth and stuff.
Yeah, that whole part reminded me of Rob Zombie.
Well, and people say, "Oh, he's not as violent." We need to remember that in the first film, at the age of 7, he brutally stabbed his buck naked sister in the upstairs bedroom 8 times with a knife in the chest, and then never spoke again. And then, although he can, he just chooses not to. As Dr. Sartain says, oh, he can speak. How do you know that? Okay. How do you know he can speak if he's never spoke?
We never thought he could drive a car, but look at that. Look at us, proven wrong by Michael.
Never drives a car in
1,000
this
times.
franchise. Not in one film. He never drives a vehicle.
And that makes me sad because that's the best part of all the Halloween films is
It makes
watching
me
Michael
happy.
drive different vehicles.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wait, that's not true. We see him walk out of a vehicle at the gas
Mhm.
station. He's like
Yeah.
walking, like you knew he drove, but we never see him drive, which
Yeah.
is consistent with him not knowing how to drive.
I think
Which is-
Sartain. I think Sartain should have been a bigger character, but overall, I mean, it was just a throwaway character in my mind. Like, I get they didn't want to exactly copy Loomis, but they could have, and it would have been fine.
I mean, I just want that nifty knife pen.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
just want that.
Stab the sheriff in the neck.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's go to the movie that everybody loves.
Yeah. These
Halloween
next two
3,
people really
Season of the
love.
Witch.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
but I feel like Kills is more divisive. Like, I
I don't know,
people
man.
I know people that like Kills, and I know people that hate Kills. I know people that hate Ends.
And that's it. They
and
don't
that's
like-
it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
like
one of them, but
no, and I'm not one of them either. Look, I don't have any stake in this character. Halloween's not my favorite horror movie. I didn't grow up on it, so it's kind of a win-win for me. I just watch the movies. I don't really care. Like, I just don't. I mean, I want to see a good film, and I think Halloween Kills is better than the other two, but I think it's flawed as well. I mean, I think
It's very fun.
I mean, it just drags for a little bit in the middle, but I think overall it's not bad. I mean, the death scenes are amazing. We just lost Matt.
He'll be back.
He should be coming back. So we'll just talk a little bit about Kills. So I love the gore. Like, I'm a gore hound through and through. And the firefighter scene, I wish they didn't show it in the trailer. I mean, it's still a great scene, but
So that scene for me, like rewatching it this last time, feels so weird. Like, it's like a video game almost. You know how like in Pokemon, like it shows your character here and here, and then it kind of like does that like left to right screen, so they end up like, opposite ends so they could fight. It kind of does that. Michael comes out of the house after getting that first firefighter, and it's like, whoom. And I was like, oh, cool. He's going to throw a Pokeball. Like, what is going on here? And he
let's bring Matt back on. Hold on.
Pokeballs. What in the fucking Pikachu are we talking about here?
Yeah, it was saying,
Okay.
so the firefighter scene, it just kind of felt like that intro where the Pokemon are about to fight, because it shows Michael, then it shows the firefighters, and they're like, the firefighters are like ready to square up with
the
guy
one
with the
brings
saw
down
and-
the saw that's like, what the hell are you gonna do with that? Like,
I mean, here's the thing. This is where they decided in this movie. So this is what I feel. This is where I think David Gordon Green has really kind of shit the bed on this character, is that in the first movie, what they wanted to do was like fanfare, right? And then in the second movie, they decided to kind of pull the trigger on him being an immortal being that is beyond human. You cannot kill him no matter how hard you try. And then something happened along the way. There's also characters in this movie that it makes no sense they're alive. There's no way that police officer was supposed to survive to the next movie. He got stabbed in the neck and he got ran over. There's no way he should have survived, much less
but they
Michael.
needed him to lay next to Laurie Strode.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that way we
yeah.
can talk about the cast and do
And-
that intro and all that stuff.
We do get what I think is one of the best couples in the history of the Halloween franchise,
Yeah.
and that's Little John and Big John.
I do.
Thank
I
you,
do,
David. Thank you.
Yeah, I do love them. They're great.
They're my favorite
they're
part
great.
of the movie.
So
literally.
this is a very heavy Halloween 2 homage and a Halloween 3 because we get the 3 trick-or-treaters that mess with the 2 Johns, and they're wearing the witch, the pumpkin, and the skeleton. And then I'm saying it's an homage to 2 because it's still Halloween night, you know, and just like later after they're attacked in the hospital, we're later in the hospital. So that's, you know, it's basically following right in the footsteps of the second film, like from the original 78 to 80s.
Well, and then what happened, I think a reason why people don't like this movie is that Laurie's character, once she wakes up and realizes Michael didn't die, is that the dialogue becomes so heavy-handed. To me, that's where it falls off. I don't care that they thought that it was another guy and they're chasing this other. None of that stuff bothered me, really. It was just Laurie doing like side... Like this. You cannot kill him. You can't defeat him. He can't be beaten with energy. It's like, it's that for like half of the movie, and everything is so heavy-handed that I just felt like, why are we doing Shakespeare here?
It was a movie very much of its time, I think, is how it is, because, you know, we were coming out of, you know, the Trump presidency and stuff like that during that time. So we had everybody's so mad and everybody's this, and you got one side pitted against this side's evil, this side's good. Is good going to prevail or is evil going to prevail? And you kind of get it's a little overwhelming, I think, is the problem. Like the whole, you know, mass like induced hysteria to like stop something.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you. I'm actually a student of mass hysteria. And I love incidents of actual mass hysteria. And if you want to check one out, go look at The Miracle of Fatima. That one's fantastic. But I digress. Okay, we do get amazing kills.
To the throat.
Light bulb. I was about to say, we get a couple in this movie.
I love them. I love that guy.
Yeah,
I love that guy. I don't know his name.
Flying his little helicopter thing.
Yeah, the drone. Yeah, and Michael brutally kills him, stabs her in the throat with a fluorescent light tube, and then as she's bleeding, right, the camera is panning around, and we see that Michael is just pumpkin carving this dude's chest with every single knife that he can find. I love it because what that scene actually showed me was that maybe there's a part of Michael that is still childlike. You know what I mean? Like there's dead bodies just sitting there, and he's just, I think I'll do this one here. And how about this one right there? It's like, so I just feel like there's this part of him that's still slightly childlike. And all that gore amounts to what is probably a movie that is, it's this weird combination of what's supposed to be social satire, but also a Friday the 13th film. And those two things I don't think, just came together properly. And whenever this dude's brains splatter on the concrete after he jumps out of a 6-story window, I just end up feeling a little queasy. I just it's like, especially since they show it, we cut and we see his brain splattered all over the concrete. No one's in shock. They're just like, I don't think it's him.
Love how they didn't realize it was him until it was just a guy dead on the sidewalk.
Now, it's the line from the end of Cannibal Holocaust. Now we're the cannibals. Now we're the kids. I see what you're doing, David. It's a little too on the nose.
And one thing we didn't talk about in Halloween 2018 is we get extended family. So we're getting to look at this generational trauma and how it's affected, Laurie. We get Laurie's daughter, and now the granddaughter. And Michael hasn't, directly affected her, but he has he took away the bridge between grandparent and, granddaughter. So she she loves Lori, but like she can't be around her because the daughter and her have such a big problem coexisting just because of her upbringing and the trauma that was caused of the way she was raised. You know, we see what happens at the end of the movie where they're like, tricked you, Michael, and like shoot him into the basement. And, like, and you're like, okay, that's kind of stupid, but all right, all that, you know, training, it was like muscle memory at that point and kind of pays off in the end to keep the three alive. But
let's talk about the real trauma where Josh Hartnett wasn't allowed to go on a field trip, guys.
Poor introducing
Listen,
Josh Hartnett.
if I'm not going to fucking Yosemite, okay, then I'm going to be
get
pissed
this
off.
bad haircut,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna
fuck
regret
this
it 30
chick.
years later.
I'm gonna light way too many candles in the school janitor's room. Okay, so we get these amazing kills. We get really great sequences, and then there's a few that really come out of left field, like the nurse character accidentally blowing her own brains out with the gun.
I kind of love it though. I watched it. I rewound it actually a few times on the second viewing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but God, is it cool?
The knife through her boyfriend's eye socket.
God, it's yeah. I mean, the kills are the best part. I mean, I just don't understand people. It's like, I don't want to hear them say evil days tonight. Evil. Yeah, well, just watch them kill somebody then. It's fine.
Well, here's the thing. It's either they want a movie that just homages the original film. They want a movie that's exactly like the original film. Or they want a movie, that's all they want. They just want those two things. And to me, it's like, if you want those two things, just go watch those movies. Because at the end of the day, David Gordon Green's an artist, and whatever he creates is a representation of art, and it's the art that he wanted to create. And I respect him for that. Do I agree with every decision he made? No, I don't. We're completely forgetting to talk about the flashback in this movie, which was really fucking great, because we get a flashback to the moment after the original film, whenever Michael falls off the banister, and then we see how he was captured. We see the guy playing Loomis, and they did a great job with this Loomis lookalike.
And Frank.
Yes. We see young Frank.
So Frank accidentally killed somebody, and that's his trauma. Like, he somebody.
He stopped them. He stopped Loomis from killing Michael. Loomis was going to shoot and kill Michael, and that's why he's like, and see, this is why I think what we were originally going to get in Halloween Ends was so different, because one of the first lines in this movie is Frank being saved by the boyfriend, who's dressed like Bonnie from Bonnie and Clyde, and he says, we have to kill him, and I'm going to be the one to do it, right? There was no wraparound for that character at all in Halloween Ends. There's no redemption for that. There's nothing that says, like, really what it should have been is it should have been him and Lori finally killing Michael, right? But instead we got something much different, and COVID played a huge part in that, because they were all going to take place on the same night. And now, you know, this Halloween Ends was a completely different movie.
We got so much stuff, and then, like, not only did we get like the flashback and our introduction to Sheriff, we got was it Lonnie? Was it Lonnie, the little kid, where Michael steps up to him and he kind of just walks by him? We get that flashback. We get what's his face, the blonde guy that's Evil Dies Tonight. Why am I drawing a blank on him?
Tommy Doyle.
We get all the nurse lady or whatever, because they're all friends and they're all. I think
it's cool. Yeah, like they're. Yeah, I think it's cool.
The flashback kind of nails all of it, like just enough to give you an explanation of who they are and how they or why they are the way they are today. So, I mean,
they've created like a group of their own, you know, like their own little support group. It's a little weird that every Halloween, listen, if I'm in that bar and every fucking Halloween, Tommy Doyle steps up there and tells the story of the boogeyman, I'm going to bash my own brains in with the bat. Okay. So I get it. His character was a little annoying, but at the end of the day, this is a solid slasher film. Of all the garbage that we've been handed in this franchise, part 5 and partially part 6, and I mean, and then all the garbage that we've been handed in every other franchise. For God's sakes, this is not a bad movie. It's a great gore flick, and it's a Michael being a badass. And really, that's what I want. I want Michael to kind of be a badass.
One of my main gripes with this, to not like hone in on something, is the runtime. I think it runs just a little too long. This one,
yeah,
it has that like kind of. It has a couple like weird moments where it could have been an ending, but they're like, but then this happens, and then Michael goes home, and then yada yada yada, and it's like, maybe cut one of those things out, and it would have flowed just a little bit better. I don't know.
What did you all think about the decision of killing the daughter?
I was fine with it. To me, though, I think it would have made that decision to kill the daughter would have had a heavier impact if the third film took place the same night, because
even a year later,
and
I think that's why they did it though too. Like they didn't want to deal with it.
Well, the original ending of the movie was him killing her. Lori picks up the phone, calls her daughter. Michael picks it up, a la Halloween 1, and all she hears is Michael breathing. And then Lori drops the phone.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, guys. Yeah. He picks up the phone. Yeah. And she drops the phone, grabs her knife, and she says, "I'm coming to kill you, Michael." And she's like, says it to him on the phone and then drops it and then goes walking out of the hospital. So to me, her death did not mean anything in the next movie. Nothing. No. It meant nothing.
It just served as a plot device for the granddaughter and her to be living together. Is all it basically did.
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the granddaughter just took the role of Josh Hartnett from H2O.
Yeah.
Like that was a very similar kind of,
Does this film Kills, does it feel like two films to you guys? Like they had an idea for two films, and instead of going one way or the other, they tried to just mash them together? And
I told you, it felt like a slasher film, and it felt like a social satire. And those, I feel like sometimes every single time we would get a transition of those two things, that the movie had a really hard time with the balance. And I think the runtime, you're right, could have really fixed that issue if we would have took out some of that heavy-handed dialogue and some of those scenes. I don't even care if Laurie's not in it that much. I think it was just rein it in on the social satire just a little bit, and just keep in mind that this is a horror film, and it is the 13th movie in a franchise. Calm down.
Speaking of calming down, Jason is our good friend at the Dungeon. You can find them on Instagram at Southland_Dungeon. And what the Dungeon is this great place in Maryville, Tennessee, where you can get video games, VHS, boutique Blu-rays and DVDs, books, magazines, puzzles, like messed up puzzles, records, just everything. He's even got anime porn if you ask him.
I was going to say, what's back in the closet is far more interesting.
It's not in the closet. Porn. You just have to know where to look. No. We love the Dungeon over at Southland. Southland Books is upstairs. The cafe is next door. Bird and the Book is downstairs, and the Dungeon is right next to that. So it's this really cool hub in Maryville, Tennessee, where you can go and visit. And don't worry, if you're not in Maryville, you can go to www.southlandbooksandcafe.com. You can get all their social information, all their events, and all that. But really, if you like movies and you like horror movies, and I think you do because you're watching this show or listening to it, you should follow Southland_Dungeon, because he shows you movies that he's got in. If you want one, just contact him. He'll send it to you after you pay him a lot of money.
Yeah.
He got in. He got Ski Patrol in today from NVD. What else? What's that Santa Claus movie?
I was going to say Dismembering Christmas, but that's wrong.
Yeah, it's like Claus with a cause or something.
Claus with a cause.
Oh, Christmas Cruelty?
Yeah, Christmas Cruelty, whatever. I like Claus with a
cause. Yeah.
Christmas Cruelty, I don't know what that is. But yeah, guys, just go over there on Instagram, follow him, and he puts up really cool things. He posted this video of this VHS tape he has of Jazzercise from like 1982. And it's
Everyone
hilarious.
loves Jazzercise.
Well, it's hilarious because it starts off and there's elephants in the background. They're like outside at a zoo or something, but the elephants are doing the Jazzercise too. It's just so messed up. It's so great. It's just, God, the 80s were great. But yeah, and as far as I know, Jason hates Halloween Ends like everybody else.
Okay. I want to talk about what I think is the greatest opening to a Halloween movie since the original film. To me, like the original opening to Halloween and this opening are like right there. Because if you were literally, I think I could set someone down, start this movie, not tell them what it is, and then the movie just happens, right? He's watching the kid, and the kid starts fucking with him if you didn't know who Michael was or whatever. And, man, whenever this kid comes tumbling down the center staircase and smacks his face head first on the ground, and we see it kind of come up a little bit, and the parents see it, and they're looking up, and they're like, "What have you done?" I was like, "Oh my God,
no.
What is?" I have no idea what's going to happen.
My jaw was on the floor, like it was, because I didn't know anything about it. I don't read anything. I mean, I knew that there was another kid that something happened to him, and he kind of takes like whatever the place of Michael. But I had no idea that what was going on. And I liked that it was a boy babysitter. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that how I mean, this kid, this guy, whatever his real name is, I don't know because I don't do research for this show.
Corey, the character?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a fantastic actor, and here in about 10 years, he's going to be really big.
He's my favorite character next to Laurie Strode in the Halloween franchise, guys. No joke. Like I
think
thought
he's way better
was
than Laurie
so
Strode.
Good as this character, and I've talked a lot. Richard knows how much I love Christine, and I knew coming into this that David Gordon Green said he watched 2 movies, and that was Christine and Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, and I watched them both, and I love Christine. And this movie had major Christine vibes. We had really cool synth similar to Christine, which I knew was going to happen because of John. But they finally kind of go all in. I mean, listen, we saw it in Halloween 4 whenever Jamie Lloyd at the end of that movie kills her, her stepmother or foster mother, and she's wearing the costume. And it seems like the evil has been transferred, but really it went in her for a second and then came out, and now she's a mute in the next movie. But anyways, I digress. In this movie, they go into that more, right? Because Michael is now a hermit living inside of a sewer, and I know.
Way out loud.
And Corey is living with the grief of what he's done. The whole town has turned on him. The mother really explains it really well whenever she's talking to Jamie Lee Curtis, and she says they couldn't find your boogeyman, so they had to pick a boogeyman to take his place, essentially, and it was Corey. And whenever Corey and Michael come together, there is a sequence that I love. Whenever Michael looks into his eyes and we see everything that has happened to Corey, and somehow this evil transfers into Corey, maybe, I don't know, but I'm here for it.
I think in the end, David Gordon Green really should have just remade Christine with this guy, and I think it would have been better.
Oh my God, he would have been great as the character of Cunningham.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would have been great. And my favorite part is like this guy's like 25, like literally in the movie, storyline wise, he's about 23, 25, getting picked on by seniors in a high school band.
That's easy to do when you work at the junkyard and all you have is a little motorcycle, Richard, and no confidence because you murdered a 7-year-old. Okay, you're vulnerable. Okay, and when you're vulnerable, we all know that the one group of people out there that will attack you at any chance they can get is fucking teenagers. Okay,
band members.
So band
members. Yeah. High school band members,
woke band members. They're the most dangerous. They must go bowling too. I mean, it's outlandish. Okay, so Lori has moved on. The daughter there's some kind of like she has some physical and emotional attraction to Corey because he's like this helpless puppy. That's the way I kind of looked at it. Like she was, it's kind of like, oh, you're damaged, I'm damaged. It's a different kind of damage, but that's okay. I've moved on a little bit. You haven't. I see you as like this helpless little thing, so I'm attracted to it. But dude, whenever Corey's like, you fucking, I'll pour the gasoline, you light the match. Let's burn this city down. I was like, yes, burn it down.
I wanted them to really go all in on that. And
I did.
Yeah, I really like the granddaughter in this movie. Her chemistry with Corey I thought was great. I liked everything. And we didn't even mention this, but I thought it's interesting that Lori actually put them together.
Yeah. I love that there is a sequence where he lures that other cop that she used to date into the sewer, and Michael, he's like holding the cop and Michael's stabbing him. And see, this is where they don't go all in, and they should, right? Because essentially what happens here is Michael, he's weak, and whenever he kills the guy, he like starts like gyrating, and then he stands up straight, and you're like, oh, okay. So he derives energy from killing people, right? But once again, we get a concept that's only half thought through. They don't go all in on it. They do it later on too, whenever Corey kills the doctor, right? And then Michael lifts up the woman, stabs her through the thing. Corey unwraps his hand, which was injured, and now it's healed, but they don't stick on it too long. It's like it's all these like half thoughts where they're like, let's not go all in. Let's just tickle the butthole just a little bit, give them a little something, to make it different. But yeah, you're right. It's just it's like
the whole franchise is like that.
Yeah, really.
I mean, the whole franchise. That's why there's all these stops and starts, and because you just don't go all in on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think, the whole thing with Michael, like kind of getting power from his kills, shouldn't he have been like supercharged after Halloween Kills?
He was. No. He was, because he's supercharged, and then the whole town. Literally, one guy shoots him 7 times in the chest. He gets beat to death with irons, literally, the woman with the iron, and then gets beat with a baseball bat and still comes back and kills everybody after that.
But I'm saying he kills all those people after that, and then even kills Laurie's daughter. So, you'd think he'd be like the evil Superman at that point. But no, he just goes and like hides in a sewer.
Yeah. Well, he, Womp, womp,
womp. One of my other big gripes with this movie is, I have no problem with the whole Corey storyline and all that. My problem is, so Green and Danny McBride they write this story from, Halloween 2018, and they have kills. And through this whole thing, Lori has been stewing on this moment, been training on this moment, been waiting to kill Michael for all this time. Then her daughter dies, and then she moved on.
Yeah. 4 years will do a lot, man. Listen,
but I've had 40-some years.
I'm a much different person than I was 4 years ago already.
Yeah. Okay.
4 weeks ago.
But she does, and I guess they kind of redeem that whole thing because she does fight Corey and she does fight Michael.
Okay, so
But
You
you know,
freaked
it's
me
a-
out a little bit with your hand coming at me, Mike.
sorry,
I was
my
like,
bad. Okay, if we're gonna talk, we've kind of breezed through some of this Corey stuff, and I really do love what they did, but what really pissed people off about this movie is this movie was promoted and is still being promoted as Michael
Laurie.
versus Laurie, 1-on-1, finally going at it. But what we get, to me, as a Michael Myers death. Okay, so one of my favorite sequences in this movie takes place at the junkyard, and it's whenever Corey finally dons the Michael mask and takes out the teenagers. He turns on the welding machine and sticks it in that one kid's mouth.
That was cool.
Okay,
That
it was
really
fucking
cool.
awesome. And whenever he puts the mask on, doesn't matter. That may as well be Michael Myers. It really doesn't. It's all the same to me. I thought he did great. It was one of my favorite Halloween sequences in a long time. It's just that entire junkyard sequence. I thought it was brilliant. But whenever we finally get to Laurie faking her suicide, shooting, killing him, and then Allison pulls up and he's like, if I can't have her, no one can. He kills him. You're right. He stabs himself, and then Michael comes back, right? And then we get the final fight sequence, and it's all of 5 minutes. And, Michael is still weak. It's intense. It's cool. But listen, in H2O, he was held back by a van. In this movie, he's held back by Frigidaire. He's like...
But what another thing I kind of was going to say that I'm drawing a blank now is... in the older films, I think a problem that people that say Michael's too violent in the newer ones is he kills people in like groups in this one, kind of like whoever, either Michael or whoever's playing Michael, be a Corey. He's attacking multiple people at once, essentially. Where in the older films, the kills kind of feel more personal, where it's like him
stalking.
And one person. Yeah, he's playing the part of that slasher a little more. Now he's like a sadistic killer where he's just like, I'm just going to thrash everything around me, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with how it's played, but I think that might be one of the reasons that people have kind of an issue with it, because it doesn't feel the same as the old one. But, there are various types of killers, and serial killers and stuff like that. So you kind of get like a transition from like a serial killer to, the last podcast always mentions it. A
mass killer.
Like a mass killer. Yeah. So he has that more of a feel now, and it kind of makes sense with today's times, like after post Columbine era, where a lot of killing now is just mass killing rather than like a serial killer.
You knock down as many pins at the same time as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the main problem with this trilogy is Laurie from Ends should have been in Halloween 2018, and Laurie from 2018 should have been in Halloween Ends.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah,
like,
no.
You could have left Kills Laurie alone, but she should have been not the badass in the first one, like Jeff said. Like, she's a badass in the first one. Then he kills her daughter, and Laurie's like, well, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna start baking pies. Yeah, so
and so you get the Laurie from H2O, basically. I mean, it's just I don't know. I think this franchise would have done better, and honestly, I don't know if this is even true, me saying it, but I imagine David Gordon Green and Danny McBride are huge Halloween fans. I just imagine that, because 90% of people are.
Sure.
I think the person that could have done a better Halloween movie is a person that didn't give a damn about Halloween.
You're possibly right. There's also not consistency tonally with all three of these movies. They all feel very different. The third one, definitely huge departure from the first two, but even 2018 Ends feels like two completely different movies. I mean,
to be a trilogy, it doesn't go together. Like, say what you want to about 4, 5, and 6, but I mean, that's one big story.
Yeah, exactly.
It may not be fleshed out, but it all feels the same. It's all,
To me, 2018 to this one feels like Scream to Scream 3 when Nev Campbell's, survived or whatever twice, and then she's working at the suicide prevention call center from her house.
I do like
kind of moves on, but then when she needs to survive, she does it.
I do like that finally them putting to bed the whole thing by after Michael is killed, they slice his wrist and he bleeds out. They strap him to the top of the car and they have this midnight procession through the town and everyone comes together to watch him be thrown in the grinder. It was a really cool sequence. I felt it's cheesy. It doesn't make sense, but it's kind of like
it's closing the book.
But it felt more like the end that should have been in Kills, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yes, yeah.
It just they should have had this end in Kills, and then somehow that evil escaped, and you bring in Corey, and you never have Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Now say what you want. You have Michael Myers, but Corey is wearing the mask. Corey wears the overall.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's a bit of a mess, but listen, we got 3 Halloween movies and one very weird one, So at the end of the day, this franchise kind of has reignited horror. I mean, 2018 made a massive amount of money. So
this whole trilogy,
and we got this whole, bring back the old character to fight the Leatherface,
We, and another thing I was kind of gonna say just before we wrap up on this. Never mind. I'll keep it on this. Never mind.
All right.
So we didn't really rank the other ones, did we? Just because we covered so much. I was gonna say we haven't. So I don't know if we. Let's kind of just rank the franchise as a whole right now, and kind of. I guess if you want to focus on the trilogy,
rank the franchise as a whole, man.
Not so much as a whole, because there's a lot of stuff we don't talk about.
No.
Richard, you're not a fan. I know that, but I mean,
hang
there's just so many, so it's kind of hard to do that. But what I'll say, I guess, is there's some strong ones, there's some not so strong ones, and throughout the whole thing, I enjoy it and have fun for what they are. They might not be the best stuff, but they are what they are. They made money. It's fun.
I mean, these movies are fueled on nostalgia, and that's kind of how they live. I mean, I think we should let's rank the Halloween kills and ends. So, what do y'all give Halloween?
2018?
Yes.
I'd give that one a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'd give it a 3.
Yeah.
I'd say a 3.5 is fair.
I'd give Kills a 3.5.
For me, that one is a 3. So it's a little bit less than 2018.
I would almost give it a 4 if it.
Y'all better get ready for my Halloween Ends ranking.
I think I know.
He's going to say 5.
Yeah, I know he is.
It's a 4.5 for me.
Yeah. I think for ends, it's probably a 3.5. I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, and I think that this one is also going to benefit from a few rewatches, the way that Halloween 3 Season of the Witch did. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but, the more you watch that one, the more you fall in love with it. I think this one could it shares similar elements where it's not so much about Michael Myers, but about a Halloween tale at the same time. You know what I mean? So I'd say this one's somewhere around a 3.5, more like a 3 for right now. Yeah. But upon rewatch, it could go up.
I agree.
Yeah, I got you. Well, that was Halloween, so thank God that's over.
That's all the Halloweens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we ever get to the real Halloweens with Rob Zombie, then we're really talking.
Yeah, we'll have to cover. Maybe we'll just save those till next October, and we'll just do Rob Zombie and then season. We can make that. We can do Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 3. But yeah, those will be fun.
So now that this is over
Halloween,
now that Michael is put to bed, which is literally one of the trailers, that's what Lori says. time to put the boogeyman to bed. Thank you, Lori, for that commercial. Now that it's finally to bed, we can move on with the rest of our fucking lives. And we
talk
about what we're thankful for.
Yeah.
That's right. So we're going to start that next week. It's movies that we are thankful for. Jeff has the first pick, and he picked from 1988, Death Spa.
Oh, yeah, because I'm a sucker for anything 1988, and I guess I'm a sucker for Death Spa. I'm certainly thankful for it, and we're going to talk about it.
You're just a sucker.
And mine is a little, mine's not necessarily horror in the long run of things, but it's class of 1999 because I love that movie, and it's got a really good Vestron release. Vestron. And Matt's being lazy. But the cool. I'm not going to reveal yet what's going on, but we are going to have some really, really cool interviews coming up in December and into January. We got MetroThamCon coming up next year, which Night of the Nerdy Laser will be at with John Russo. We're bringing in John Russo for MetroThamCon. And so we're really excited about that. He obviously co-wrote Night of the Living Dead with George Romero. So we're really excited about that. And just Night of the Nerdy Laser is really kicking up. Please start sharing the YouTube channel, the podcast link, wherever you listen to it. Yes. Leave us reviews. There's all sorts of stuff you guys can do. And Night of the Nerdy Laser is basically on all the social networks. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And Matt's
on TikTok?
We are not on TikTok. I am Nerdy Laser, but and sometimes I do Night of the Nerdy Laser stuff on there, but not recently. So Matt had to go because his phone died or something, I'm sure.
I think so.
But it's all good. We're done, thank goodness, with this franchise. So, yeah. We've got some reviews. I'll read those on the next show, but leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it live on the air. Email nightofthenerdylaser@gmail.com with any comments about the Halloween franchise, if we suck or not. Whatever you want to talk to us, just email us and we'll read it on the air. And Jeff, what should they do?
Oh, they should keep it bloody.
Yeah, because somebody has to.
Joe Bob returns to East Tennessee for 2 events over a 3-day extravaganza brought to you by FrankenCon and Orbit DVD. Starting with How Rednecks Saved Hollywood. Spend a fast and furious 2 hours with America's drive-in movie critic as he uses over 200 clips and stills to review the history of rednecks in American cinema as told through classics of both grindhouse and mainstream movies. A separate ticketed event taking place the day before Bride of FrankenCon on Thursday, June 8th. With the exception of FrankenCon Super VIP ticket holders who get the first 2 rows to How Rednecks Saved Hollywood and a ticket to Bride of FrankenCon Horror Convention taking place on Friday, June 9th and Saturday, June 10th, with additional perks like first 2 rows to all screening activities, panels, as well as early access to Bride of FrankenCon, a custom t-shirt, merch, and much more. FrankenCon exploded on the scene in 2022. In 2023, it's a whole new world of cons and monsters, as Bride of FrankenCon is set to be the biggest horror convention in Tennessee, with superstars from some of the biggest horror franchises of all time, directors, cult legends, film screenings, live commentaries, panels, vendors, and much more. And joining Joe Bob is the one and only Darcy the Mail Girl. Be on the lookout for announcements throughout the year and visit us at frankencontn.com and frankencontn on Facebook and Instagram. Super VIP tickets go on sale Friday, July 29th. This ticket is the only ticket that gets you in the door for both How Rednecks Saved Hollywood event and Bride of FrankenCon. For more info and tickets, visit us at frankencontn.com.